Hello and welcome back to Automotive Tales. On today's episode we're talking about a challenge that involves a Peugeot 207, a road trip to Yorkshire and a Rolls-Royce. So with COVID rules lifting, I am going to take full advantage. I'm heading north to see some family in Yorkshire, and it's about a 200-mile road trip. Sadly, Mrs. Automotive Tales can't travel at the same time I am. So with that, we need to take two vehicles, which leaves us with a conundrum. Now, we have more than two vehicles in the Automotive Tales stable. However, there's really more than two that are actually working at any one point in time. At the moment, we have exactly two. We have the Volvo V60, which is Mrs. Automotive Tales' main car, and we have my 1981 Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit. So, we have two cars. However, the Rolls-Royce isn't exactly the ideal vehicle for a long trip up to Yorkshire, because it does about 10 miles to the gallon. Which got me thinking, could I buy a car, insure it, tax it, drive it to Yorkshire, drive it back and sell it for less than a tank of fuel in the Rolls-Royce? Challenge set, challenge accepted. So I set myself a goal to buy a car for under £500 with the simple rule is it had to be roadworthy with an MOT. So I set about searching all the usual places, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Auto Trader, etc. And I found a few things that were of interest, but nothing that really sort of floated my boat. So I reached out to some friends on a car chat on WhatsApp, and it took literally moments for someone to come back and say, we've got a car that needs a home. So my friend James put me in touch with his brother-in-law, who is emigrating to Canada tomorrow, and he still hadn't got rid of his car, and it was in budget. Perfect. So I've been to see Tom, and I have bought his Peugeot 207 for the pricely sum of £400. Well, actually, technically £399, because found a shiny pound coin under the seat. Win-win. So I'm £400 or £399 into the challenge already. Now, obviously, as soon as I've taken ownership of this vehicle, I've had to put road tax on it. So that has cost me another £30. That's right, the car cost a whole £30 for a whole year's road tax. It's not exactly bank breaking. I then have had to insure the vehicle. Now, I'm in a lucky situation where I can add this to my policy, so it has cost me the pricely sum of £14.18. So far, we are... So we are £443.18 into this challenge. And the question is, can I sell the car afterwards? Well, as luck would have it, one of my co-hosts on the channel, Martin, has asked me if I have a spare vehicle or a vehicle for sale. So his brother-in-law, seems to be a running theme here, is in need of a car. Unfortunately, it turns out the oil light on his Citroen was not working, and the car needed oil. So you can kind of work out what might happen if you've got a car that needs oil and an oil warning light that doesn't work. Yes, there was block con rod coming together. So his brother-in-law, Mike, is in need of a car. Well, guess what? I've got a cheap commuter car right here. So we've got the perfect storm. We've got Tom, who needs rid of a car very, very quickly before he emigrates to Canada. We've got an idiot here who needs a car for a challenge and a road trip for one weekend. And we have Mike, who needs a car to commute next week. Perfect. So what did my £399 buy me? Well, I have got a 2010 Peugeot 207. It's a 1.4 HDI diesel with a manual gearbox. It's 117,735 miles on the clock, so it's no spring chicken. But it did come with an MOT until November of this year and a quarter of a tank of fuel. So, all in all, it's not bad. Now, this is not exactly a premium vehicle, but it does come with aircon, which I can confirm does work, a CD player, and somebody's even fitted a little aux plug in to the back of the dashboard, so I can plug an iPod in, or a, Walkman, or whatever the cool kids use these days. As you can see from the outside shot, it's got plenty of bumps and scrapes. It's been used in the centre of Derby for the last couple of years, and it kind of shows, but it's all there, it's all in one piece. It's Not exactly pretty with no wheel trims, but you can't really complain so much at £399. So all that leaves us to do is get on the road to Yorkshire and see how we get on, and hopefully it'll get there in one piece. So, full tank of diesel, just under 60 quid, and reset the odometer, and let's see how far we get for what fuel. So I wasn't intending on completely filling it, but I now know where the car is going to, so if there's fuel left in it, well, it'll be a present for the next owner. So let's get on the road. So, fun fact, we have just left the M62 at junction 22, Richworth Moor. This is the highest motorway junction on the UK motorway network. Another fun fact about this part of the M62 is those that have driven it will notice that the two carriageways of the motorway go either side of a farmhouse. Now, local legend has it that the farmer refused to move from his land when the motorway was being built. Sadly, this is a myth. It actually turns out there's a geological fault underneath the farmhouse that means they couldn't have actually put the motorway right through the middle of where the farmhouse is. As such, they split the two carriageways and they ended up either side of the farm. The farmer and his wife still live there and farm their sheep as they did before the motorway was there. So, as you can see, we have approached the wilds of Yorkshire. We're nearly at our destination. We had to do a detour via Birmingham, which was great fun because we hit it at rush hour. So in total, we have now done 204 miles in the Peugeot. And so far, the 207 is running just fine. We definitely have some knocks from the engine mount. We can feel when you pull away, when you come to a stop, the engine clunking around. So that's something we're going to have to look at before we move the car on. And definitely some clunks from the drop link, which we already have to replace. Otherwise, the car drives fine. Sure, a 1.4 diesel isn't exactly premium motorway fodder, but so far we have used a quarter of a tank to cover those 204 miles, so pretty frugal. And it tells me that there's another 450 miles left in the tank. So that's pretty good, to be honest, for a £400 car. Well, my positivity would be short-lived. On arriving at my destination, I found a new problem with the Peugeot. So join us next time as I attempt to fix the car and save my chances of winning my own challenge. See you next time. All making a noise.